Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a little different than a lot of other videos. I'm actually going to do a voiceover here, and we're going to start with some time-lapse stuff. What you're seeing me build is a new welding cart. I recently bought a new welding machine and got rid of my old one, and actually gave the cart to the guy when I sold my old one. Kind of part of the package deal. So I need a new welding cart. So we're going to talk a little bit about what I had, what I got, and why I decided to switch. So you can kind of see it sitting there in the back. It's a Primeweld. That's actually the plasma cutter up on the cut table there, but sitting kind of right in center screen there is the 285 on its cardboard box on the floor. So this welding cart is not really off of any basic design or anything. I was just kind of freestyling it here. But I wanted to use the 285 so I could give sort of a practical review on it over what I had. So I won't say anything bad about the Omni Pro 220 that I had, the Harbor Freight welder. Actually, I would recommend that to anybody, honestly. As far as it goes, it was a phenomenal multi-process machine. Like all multi-process machines, it lacked a little bit here and there. But the biggest lack for me was kind of two things. Is the overall capacity of the machine was only 220 amps, which kind of limited you to about 1/4 inch material, was really where you would top out at. And although I'm not doing super heavy duty stuff day in, day out, having that ability to do heavier walled things without having to bust out the stick welder was kind of nice, especially in the shop setting. So I decided to upgrade there. And then this machine will also run dual shield, and it will run a 30-pound spool, which is nice. My old machine would not run. The Omni Pro 220 only runs a 10-pound at max, which is honestly fine for the most part. I actually only run 10-pound spools anyways. But I wanted to put this video together, and mainly this cart, because one, I needed the cart. The cardboard box only goes so far. Two, I wanted the practical welding with it. I spent pretty much a whole Saturday building this cart, so roughly 6 or 7 hours, give or take, just welding and fabricating and designing. But I figured that would be enough practical welding experience to say what I like, what I don't like, and we'll talk about some of that stuff here later in the video. Right now, I kind of slowed that time lapse down just so you could see some practical welding with it, and it works great. The 285, just like you'd expect, is pretty much flawless. Alrighty, back into it. You can see me do a little bit more fabricating on this base frame here for this welding cart. I actually remembered right about here that I own a mag drill, so I was like, why am I going to do this by hand if I've got a mag drill? So I busted that out just to drill a couple quick holes. I still had to diagram them a little bit just to get these bushings that I had to fit. When I went to go buy casters for this, they only had 2 of the square base swivels, and then they had these 2 round base swivels, and I just was like, well, they're all the same size. I'll make something work. So now that I've got all the wheels on there and this base frame built, I can kind of start figuring out exactly what I want to do. So here I'm going to bring in another square stock. These are square stock bits that I get from work that are just, they're scraps. They end up going in the dumpster, but for the most part, they're good tube steel. So clean them up, cut the ends off, and then I throw them over in the chop saw over there. And that Evolution saw has actually been one of the best saws I have ever owned. I've had a lot of abrasive saws, band saws, a couple different things. There's something to be said about a really, really nice big band saw. But this thing's a little goofy. It takes a little getting used to. because it is a miter saw. You want to make sure that you're coming in at the right angle to cut with this. You can't just use it like a chop saw. I don't really have the best stand for it. It's just been kind of hanging out on this bench, but it works. It works pretty good for me. You could see here the mitering on this saw is actually why I bought it, so I could do 45s pretty regularly and easily. So I cut these two 45s up, and I put them up here. Again, this is just me completely kind of just free forming ideas here for a cart. Basically, all I wanted to do is hold my welder and hold a bottle. So now, one thing I will say about that Evolution saw, it is a chip throwing machine. So I can't tell you how many times I end up with chips just all in my hair and all over, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it. It is also very loud. You'll see a set of earplugs that I have on my neck, and that is definitely for the saw. It is really, really loud, but it does do a good job of cutting steel. So I put in a cross brace up there at the top. I figured we probably need something to keep at least those top little bits straight. Again, this is just all freeform. Mainly it was just to test out this 285 and make sure that for being a welder, it was pretty good. So speaking of Primeweld, this was actually one of the very first pieces of equipment I bought from them, and that was the Cut 60 plasma cutter. And it works great. You'll watch me use it here to cut out some sheet steel, mainly so I can have a bottom base that my bottle can rest on. Again, it is a great working little machine. Absolutely love the Cut 60, and it's going on almost 3 years now. So we're going to go ahead and weld that base plate in there, and after this, you'll actually see me use the plasma cutter again. This was me freeforming, kind of another idea that I actually didn't end up using on this cart. I thought I was going to use this as the bottle rack on the back. I held it up there, and I just didn't really like the way it looked. Okay, there's a couple things that got left out of the time lapse. These handles, and then this hoop in the back here. I ran out of time. I ran out of actually phone battery. I'm not really a big fan of these handles. I'll probably switch these out later. That's why I just kind of rough tacked them in. Ow, that's still hot. But I wanted to give you guys an honest review on the 285, but I also wanted to use it. I'd done one other small job with it the other night, but that wasn't enough for me to actually justify and say I've used it. This was a 6-hour, 7-hour project that's basically taken me all day to do, and I can safely say I've got some things I like, some things I don't necessarily like. We'll start off with the things I don't like, because that's definitely the shorter list. First things first, I doubt you'll pick it up throughout the time lapse. I was running into a couple issues with burn back, and a lot of that stems from this gun. A lot of other ones they're screwed on and they have a set depth on this cone. This one doesn't. It just simply slides on, which is actually kind of nice. In a way, it's quick on and off. You can clean them pretty easy. It's a Tweeko style. That being said, the rest of the gun is fine. Feels good in the hand. The trigger's good. The strain reliefs are good on both ends. The feed mechanism was flawless. I never had one feed issue, but again, it's a double drive setup, so I don't expect much. That was really my big complaint, was the whole burn back deal, but you play with the settings a little bit, you can smooth it all out. As far as welding 1/4 inch, welded fine. There's a little tweaking I did here and there of, I'm going to bump my amperage, or I'm going to bump my wire feed and bump my voltage and so on and so forth, so that took a little bit. Kind of dialing in. I haven't played with the TIG or the stick settings because I didn't buy this for either of those. I might play with the TIG because I do a little bit of TIG stuff here and there, but it's pretty rare. And I actually sold with my other welder, sold the TIG rig with it, so I'll have to get another one. Otherwise, it's really hard to beat what these guys put out. I've got zero other complaints besides those. It welded flawlessly all day. I never once broke duty cycle on it. The dual feed, or the dual on-demand fans is actually really nice, where I don't have to listen to the fan just constantly like that. I don't have to listen to that, which is actually really great. So without further ado, I guess we're going to set this up and actually sit it on the cart, get everything set, and call it a day. I have nothing bad to say about the Vulcan. The only reason I got rid of that machine was simply this has bigger capacity, and it has the capacity to hold a 33-pound spool. With that, you can't put a 2-pound spool on there, which is, I mean, neither here nor there, for especially if you're doing straight MIG work or things like that. You don't buy 2-pound spools, really. Unless it's Sunday and the only place that's open is the Napa down the street and that's all you can get, then you might, because I've done that before. But otherwise, you buy 10-pound spools. So, again, a really solid product from Primeweld. They don't disappoint. You know, the plasma cutter, you'll watch me use that throughout this time lapse. You'll watch me use a couple other things. I really don't have anything bad to say at all. I mean, besides a couple small complaints, but everything was remediable with playing with settings. Definitely a high quality machine, especially for what you pay. I don't think you could touch anything near this quality for near this price through any other manufacturer, honestly. So that is my honest, review and a little talking about why I went with Primeweld 285 and why I went away from Harbor Freight and the Vulcan line. That was something that I'd had for a long time and did me really well. So thanks again for watching. If you got any other comments or you got any concerns, questions, complaints, feel free to drop them in the comment section. Thanks, guys.